I had my cardiac arrest on a Monday, and of course don't remember anything until the next the following that Thursday. So about 4 days, and I actually had lost even memory-wise the Sunday before. When I woke up, and still some of this is told to me by my wife. I called her and said, "What am I doing here?" Because you wake up and it's all kind of strange.
He suddenly collapsed, and his wife did CPR and saved his life. And the ACLS protocol was applied by the EMS, who went there to the field immediately, and they brought the patient to UAMS. When we had him originally, we didn't want to do invasive procedures immediately because we want to make sure that his brain function is preserved after such an event. We admitted him to the medical intensive care unit, and we kept him there, and we cooled him for 48 hours. What cooling does is it preserves the brain oxygen metabolism.
The staff was great. They took all kinds of time to explain what had happened, the tests that they had done, and so I'm tremendously grateful for their patience with me.
Cardiac arrest is usually caused by heart disease, blocked coronary arteries, weakness in the heart, long-standing high blood pressure. In him, we couldn't find an obvious cause for the cardiac arrest. He was mercifully resuscitated from the cardiac arrest, and he got to the hospital with a stable rhythm, and his vital organs had survived the cardiac arrest. Since we couldn't figure out why he had the cardiac arrest, what he needed was a device called a defibrillator. And you've all seen on, I don't know, on ER on the television, somebody comes into the emergency room and the nurse says, "Doctor, the patient's having a cardiac arrest," and they put pads on the chest and the patient. Well, to have a defibrillator implanted does all the things that defibrillator you've seen on the television does, but it does it automatically. So it's like having the rescue squad in your hip pocket. The rescue squad is there. It's a box that was implanted under the skin here, under his arm, with a wire that ran on the outside of the chest, up the breastbone, and the device sits there, and it listens to the heart. And while the heart's beating normally, it does nothing. But if the heart ever goes into cardiac arrest, the device hears that and administers a life-saving shock to the heart, a life-saving electric shock to the heart.
There was a big trial that was done in the United States years ago. In that trial, defibrillators have been shown to be better than medications in these patients who have suffered a cardiac arrest. We decided to go with subcutaneous ICD in him because he's a marathon runner, and there are reports of these devices working very well in athletes and marathon runners.
The other thing that was really important, since I'm pretty active, that I knew I needed to get out of bed as soon as I could when I was stable enough, just to start moving and get it back to some degree of normalcy. And they were always great about helping to disconnect me from all the tubes and stuff like that so I could get up. I've just gradually worked up slowly. I mean, I'm really fortunate that I've done a lot of training over the years and understand where I am now and the slow process it will take back to recovery. So that's been really helpful in terms of knowing how to balance my current fitness as well as what had happened to me, because it was pretty stressful on the body, and of course, nothing that I would understand until I actually went out and walked, and then got fit enough so I could start doing some running as well as walking. I think I'm fortunate that I was so fit that when I look at the statistics, the survival rates of cardiac arrest, they're really low. And so the big things that I believe were the success of my survival is, one, my initial fitness. Second, my wife was right there in that she called 911, administered CPR, as well as MEMS, we're very blessed by having MEMS here in terms of their training, their equipment, and that they were close. So they were able to get me to UAMS quickly. I mean, they were able to get my heart back in rhythm, and then the quality of the care that I received here at UAMS.
Well, we have expertise in implanting all kinds of pacemakers and defibrillators here, and we have a lot of expertise in managing patients who've suffered a cardiac arrest. We have a group of 4 specialists here at UAMS and me who help patients who've had cardiac arrests and help prevent cardiac arrests in the wider population of people with heart disease who are at risk of cardiac arrests. And that requires a multidisciplinary team approach, looking at all aspects of the patient's health, but also more specifically, all aspects of the patient's heart health, and putting together a package of measures that will reduce the risk of cardiac arrest, reduce the risk of cardiac arrest happening again.
Since I've been back home, I'm trying to read up on, hey, what happened to me? What's the treatment for all this? And every time I look, it's like, oh, they did that, they did that, they did that, they did that. So I know that although I wasn't there at the time, they did everything that they should have done in order to help me survive and recover from my cardiac event.